Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We are two retired New York City police detectives with over 20 years of law enforcement. Each of us, we want to say thank you to each and every one of you for joining. Sorry for the delay. It isn't often that we have technical difficulties, but I got to say, I'm throwing our guest under the bus. It was on him. He had us waiting, but he's in the waiting room. He's got everything is all figured out. Ed, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Less stressful than you, I guess.
Yeah, it was. We were thrown off a little bit, but I wanted to say a special thank you to the Patreon supporters, the channel members, and all the folks who positively engage in Crime Time with DutyRon in this community. You guys are what makes this a great place, and Ed Wallace and I give thanks and praise to each and every one of you for the engagement, the respect, and also the really, really great community that you guys help us build, and we can't be thankful enough to you guys. And I think it goes without saying. The feelings are mutual both ways. This thing is a two-way street. Ed, we're going to talk tonight about the info from Kiely Rodni's vehicle, what the capabilities are of the info system, the black box, as they say. There's an argument out there. Is there a black box? Is it like an airplane? We know it's not. Ed, talk a little bit about that black box and some of the tech there. I know that you aren't an expert on this, but you know this stuff.
Well, it's just slang for the data saved in the car. Okay, we just call it a black box. It's not physically a black box, or it's not the same as a black box in a aircraft. And for that matter, the aircraft's black box isn't black; it's orange.
Yeah.
Okay,
with a beacon light.
Yeah. So, and it's designed to crash, and it's designed to go underwater. And whereas most vehicles, data hard drives are not designed for that. But that doesn't mean we can't get any information from it. Okay. There's still that possibility, depending on, we heard from several computer experts in some of our lives in the past that said, yeah, they got a 50-50 shot at it, getting stuff out of this stuff, if they let it dry out and then pull it out of the
lake.
No, I'm saying pull the electronics out of the vehicle and then bring it back to the electronics laboratory and try to get the information.
Yeah, bringing it back into a controlled environment where they can reconstruct and rebuild and connect to external devices and things of that nature. But you know what? Everybody here, we all want information. And when we follow not just the Kiely Rodni case, when we file any of these cases where it's a mystery, there's always the questions, and we don't have the answers to those questions. And Nevada County is supposed to give a press conference this week. I know you and I talked briefly about it on the side, but until they give that press conference, we're all speculating back and forth. And that's why I love to bring on professionals. Now, Ed and I are, good at our trades and what we did as police detectives and investigators. But when it comes to this stuff, we reach out to some of the best, and the NYPD has some of the best resources. We had our great friend from the scuba and the harbor unit, Sergeant Paul. He came on with us and spoke in great detail about his divers and about what it takes to have a situation like this and how to handle it. And again, we do this for the benefit of not just ourselves, but for all of us together as a team. My guest here, who did have some technical difficulties, has a combined experience of over 38 years. He said 39. He's been at this game for almost 40 years. And Tommy B is a first grade detective with the NYPD, and we're honored to have him on. Tommy, thank you for joining Crime Time with DutyRon with a little bit of problems.
Yep, I apologize, especially with the technology stuff. But thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. And yes, I'm quickly approaching my 39th year with the New York City Police Department.
Hey, could you give our audience a little bit of your background when it comes to this stuff? Like, what makes you an expert? And I have written down here that you are an expert witness for the feds, for the state, court certified. Just give some of these folks what makes you a specialist in your field, Tom.
For the past 30 years, I've been in the auto crime unit. It's a unit that investigates motor vehicles, and every aspect of a motor vehicle we do like different types of investigations with. We do everything from vehicle identification based on a VIN number, based on a photograph. Tonight, I'm going to be talking a little bit about what we do with downloads of the vehicle's infotainment system. We do downloads of what's called event data recorders. That's that black box you were talking about a little bit before.
Right.
So I've been dealing with motor vehicles for, like I said, for the past 30 years. I've been trained through the International Association of Auto Theft Investigators. I was the former president of that organization, and that organization carries on training and conferences on a yearly basis, along with the New York Anti-Car Theft Committee. That's another here in New York. It's the Motor Vehicle Theft Authority, and through them, various trainings with that. And I've been called on various high-profile cases to identify the vehicle.
Well, Tommy, that's fascinating, and everybody in the chat is over 1,000, 1,200 people now, and the chat just keeps growing. Everybody's fascinated with that, you know. And when you talk about cars and the electronic systems, you know, this. Before I show this video that we're going to show, this 2013 Honda CRV, we don't know if it was pushed into this freshwater lake. We don't know if she drove it in as an accident. We don't know if there was some kind of nefarious or criminal activity behind it. And we know California Highway Patrol, their accident investigation squad, equivalent to our NYPD highway unit, that does a great job in accident investigation. I want to get into that towards the end, if you could speak a little bit on that, and what you could see from, and I know that you haven't had time to look at this. So this is a 3-minute clip. I'm going to play this. These are the dive team. I told you about this a little bit, Tommy. This is the dive team that came from Wisconsin. They're based out of Portland, Oregon. They came from Wisconsin and they drove to Northern California. And in 38 minutes, they found this vehicle submerged in, I believe, 14 feet of water, 55 or 60 some odd feet off the shore. Might have been a little bit more, a little bit less. And the law enforcement over there had spent 19,000 man hours searching. And they also told them that this body of water was searched and that it didn't need to be searched. So this is a couple of missteps, but I want to show you this real quick. So this way, you know what we're talking about. You can see the vehicle and we'll go from there. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
All right, cool. All right, guys, we're going to play this. This is from Adventures with Purpose. I know we've all seen this, but this is for the benefit of everyone that's joining, and it's going to give Tom a little bit of good insight to what occurred, and he'll take a look at the vehicle as well.
This is absolutely a crime scene. It's an active investigation. Our job is to be here to find the where, which we have done. Now we need to assess it appropriately. Full assessment, condition of the vehicle, windows up or down. Do not remove license plate like we normally do.
Copy that. I'm going to start my descent. Confirm. I see the vehicle and the license plate. We have just found Kiely's vehicle. Over.
10-4. Do a full assessment, methodically, slowly. Make sure you focus on footage of the vehicle so that we can accurately relay that to the authorities.
The vehicle is upside down. I repeat, it is upside down. I'm at the rear of the vehicle now, working my way around towards the driver's side. Over.
10-4. I read you loud and clear.
I'm approaching the driver's side window, trying to get a look inside. I cannot positively identify anybody inside yet. I'm looking in the back now.
10-4. Take your time. Be safe.
I see a pair of shoes in the back. I'm moving my way towards the back window.
10-4. I read you loud and clear.
I just confirmed there are human remains in the vehicle. Over.
10-4.
The passenger window is broken out, it appears. Rear driver's side window is halfway down.
Copy that. Rear driver's side window is down.
Find the line and turn top side.
Yep. That's what we do it for, brother. Good job. Good job. It's positive, you know? All right.
She's in the back of the vehicle. She's not in the driver's seat. It looks suspicious to me.
Yeah.
Vehicle's upside down. Some of the one window is halfway down. One window is all the way down. Call the authorities.
We help families all across the nation. And when we find out.
So there you have it, Tommy. Ed and I have seen that quite a few times. I'm going to fast forward it to where they're pulling the vehicle out so you can get a look. But essentially, just so you know for yourself, they flipped that vehicle, not these divers, the police personnel. They flipped it upright and they didn't wrap it and they pulled it out. And unbeknownst to them, some of her belongings fell out of that vehicle, including a laptop and personal effects. I'm going to fast forward it to the part where they're pulling it out, so you guys can so you can take a peek, Tommy. And then we're going to discuss the black box and some of the electronics on board there. So let me just put this back on. We have a spinning wheel. Look, Tommy, you're not the only one that has trouble.
Yeah, it's a retrograde tonight.
Yeah. What the hell is going on? All right, here we go.
Texted, okay, Mom, I love you.
All right, I'm just going to pause it because they do some narrating, but I want you to see the actual vehicle being pulled out, and we'll see that here. All right, there you go. So here you see them, they're dragging it up to that flatbed. They cover it completely with the tarp. And then they take the vehicle away. So I'm going to stop it here and I'm going to put us back on. So what'd you think of that, Tom? I mean, I know you, this is not your thing, but you know, they did grab that vehicle. It was underneath the water, arguably for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So we have a potential for everything in there completely waterlogged and soaked. What is the chances of getting information out of some of the stuff within that vehicle?
There's a possibility. I just wanted to back up a little bit and kind of describe what I kind of do a little bit more. It's you have to realize that motor vehicles are in 75% of all crimes. So if it's anything crime related, you know, there's a good chance that a motor vehicle is involved in it. And that was based on an FBI study. So what I do is, and what my unit does is, we are trained by a company called Burla. And Burla develops software to download the infotainment system of your vehicle. And people ask, oh, what is that? That is basically in the center of your dashboard, that system that has a screen on it where you can adjust your radio. It has navigation on that. And what that system does is it actually records your telephone once you get in the vehicle. And what I mean by recording your telephone, what it will do is some cars actually even ask you, would you like to download your phone into the vehicle's system? And you can press no, but it still downloads it anyway.
Yeah.
So you're not defeating anything.
So
And
that's interesting, Tommy, because you and I spoke about that verbally on the phone.
right.
And I made a mention in one of my previous videos that I did about that. And a lot of people say, you know what? I get that message in my car and I always say no. And I figure my downloads and my contacts and all of that just doesn't go through. Why does that still go through when you say click no to that?
Because it's still accepting it. I like to describe it as a mother duck and a duckling. Is your car is the mother duck, and it's quacking for its duckling. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? So
Right.
whenever it can make a electronic connection, like I said, you step into the vehicle, and it's waiting for a duckling to quack back. That's your cell phone quacking back. So it's accepting information before you even plug it in or it even pops up. Hey, listen, do you accept this?
Right.
So there is an information exchange in there, even though you get that message.
Hey, Tommy, can I ask a favor for you? Because I know it's probably annoyance of the audience, and I know Ed and I we want to see your face moving. You're frozen up. So would you be able to leave and then come back? Because something must have happened. I don't know if you got a text message or if you lost Wi-Fi or signal, because we got you just frozen. We can hear your voice, but we just can't see you talking. So I'm gonna
come back in.
I'll bounce you out and then just come back.
Okay.
All right. There he goes. Ed, amazing that they're still going to be getting information when you click that no. I think that's important here, because if she was connected by Bluetooth at any time during the course of going back, as her friend said, going to get drinks or going to do whatever they did in the car, sometimes I know my son gets in my car, all of a sudden he's connected into my system. Could that be an advantage investigation wise?
Yeah. Is it a two-way street? Is it just one way? Is it the information from your phone going to your car, or is the car information going to your phone and then up to your cloud? When he comes back online, we need to ask him that.
Yeah, I'll let you take it. He's back.
I'm back.
Hey, that's better, Tom. Thank you. So, that was really interesting what you just told everybody about how the car, even though you may check no on that info system, it's still connecting and gathering information. But let me ask you this. Does the information from the car go to the phone and then up to the phone's cloud?
No, it's mostly a one-way system that law enforcement uses. That is a good question. You have to understand that the system in your vehicle does loops, meaning it doesn't record a lot of data, so it's always overriding data, etc. And depending how much you drive, there's other data it collects besides your cell phone. So there are vehicles that have an infotainment system that will collect your GPS locations, and in law enforcement, we can geo map you, meaning your vehicle will tell you where you've been, for the past event, like your last time you drove that vehicle, and it will actually give you GPS coordinates, depending on the vehicle at certain times, and you can actually map somebody's route from that. So there's
Now,
even if it's under the water, or that amount of time.
Once again, you would have to examine the vehicle for the amount of damage. Most likely, your infotainment system itself would be damaged from any kind of water exposure. It's not a sealed unit. These things look like, radios basically, and the chips in those and the wiring of that is all going to be exposed, behind the dashboard. So with a vehicle submerged like that, it's going to have some kind of water damage.
So how often does it write over what it previously saved?
It all depends on the vehicle. Some vehicles have more room than other vehicles, meaning it saves more data than another vehicle. So each vehicle is different in the capacity and what it downloads. Some vehicles have a minimal amount of information. Some vehicles will have your photos in it. It's all depends on what kind of vehicle you drive.
So each vehicle's hard drive capacity is different.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then
I say that because I was able to save pictures to one of my vehicles, and the current vehicle I have now is a 2016, and I'm able to save, like I can actually hook a flash drive into it from USB, and it's going to download, like I could put a screensaver of my kids, I could put my dog on there, I could put my bird, so you could put anything that you want in that vehicle, and it's a 2016. And technology I looked up in a 2013, if you had the high-end limited edition, or I think there was the EX model, it had the leather seating and it had the navigation, the full navigation. But if they were to take that out and bring it into, like our computer crimes folks, where tomorrow night we're going to have the CO of computer crimes, he's retired. If they were to take that out and bring it into a controlled environment, like Ed says, into a lab, you think they might be able to get the data off of that into an external device?
Yeah, they might be able to do it. There's a process called a chip off, where they actually remove a chip off the motherboard and connect it to this burless software to download information. So you might be able to get that. If it's like I said, a chip off conducted on the device to get information from it. But once again, that is not always 100%.
Tommy, what's the Burler software? What is that for the folks who just...
Burler is a company, a private company that works with law enforcement and the government, and they have developed software that will adapt to different vehicles to extract this information from your infotainment system. They're the leaders in this kind of technology.
Hey, Tom, what kind of vehicle information is the ECM capturing when the vehicle is in use?
Now we're talking about the black box, right?
Right.
All right. Yeah, it's the name for it. People call it black box, airbag module. I was told to call it the event data recorder.
Mm-hmm.
So, you spoke before about, hey, listen, a plane's data recorder is orange, so they can locate it and they get different information out from it. This data recorder in a motor vehicle, what it does is this: it will capture And once again, when I talk about vehicles, it's not the same for every vehicle. It's not the same for every year, etc. But 96% of the vehicles now have this electronic data recorder. It started off in the 90s when airbags started getting installed in vehicles. And what this recorder does is it records your speed. Some record your steering, meaning if you're making a left or a right, your braking, you're stepping on the brakes, your acceleration, any increase in RPMs. It's monitoring the engine speed, not only the vehicle speed. If you're using seatbelts, if you have your seatbelts on, and what it does is it will record a crash for 5 seconds before the accident and 5 seconds after the accident. This is what usually highway will conduct on a vehicle if it's involved in an accident with serious injuries or death. They'll download this electronic data recorder, see how fast the guy was going, see when he applied the brakes, etc. And that's totally different from the infotainment system. This is more of attaching an OBD device to it and then extracting that information from the vehicle.
Now, if the vehicle has an accident avoidance system in it, lane departure, adaptive cruise control, and all that kind of data would be in there as well, right?
That might be in the infotainment system. We have not been involved in a vehicle like that before. Like I said, technology is changing. Our new thing now in order crime is cars are basically computers on wheels. So the technology is moving so fast. Would it be recorded in the data recorder? I doubt it. Like I said, it's recording more based on your airbag deployment. So,
I know, because like insurance companies like Progressive and some of the others, they give you a flash drive to plug into your car, and they monitor how you're driving, speeding, lane changes, and so forth. And they try to give you a discount for those that are driving safer than others.
Right. So
I never get that discount. I suck at that. So I don't plug that into my ECM where they plug in there to do when you get your inspection, right? That plug. That's where they want you to plug into.
Right. It's underneath like the steering wheel of your vehicle.
Yeah.
And that will like, once again, that will record acceleration, deceleration, etc.
Hey, Tommy, I know you're an expert in everything when it comes to parts of vehicles and things of that nature. I just showed the interior of a 2013 Honda CRV. This is one of the more deluxe models. It's got the leather seating, but I even looked at the lower end models, and they do have a smaller screen, but not navigation and things of that nature. But what I wanted to ask you is if, let's just say for argument's sake, this car was driven into the water. I wanted to talk to you just a little bit, and I don't want to throw this thing off, but airbags. If a car was going in at a high rate of speed into like water, there's sensors. And I know a little bit about this stuff because I was involved in a motor vehicle accident where my airbags didn't go off. Right. And the insurance company and Chrysler told me that there's 2 sensors in the front bumpers. Nowadays, there's probably like 6 or 8. And if those aren't compromised or tickled, so to speak, they're not going to be going off. All of the electronics and all the onboard stuff here. I mean, we talked about the seat belts and stuff like that, but everybody was curious of if this car went into the water at a high rate of speed, if that in fact was the case, would it make sense that the airbags didn't deploy? Because we know that they didn't from looking inside that vehicle.
Yeah, I would doubt it. It's not, companies make the airbags deploy when there's actually some serious damage to the vehicle or at like a super high rate of speed, and sudden braking like an accident would cause. And the reason behind that is they don't want you to drive over a pothole and that have the vehicle go off. The airbags go off, and now you get into an accident
Right.
because of the airbag. But there has been in the 90s when airbags were start getting developed, incidents where that actually happened. So with technology now, I think they have prevented that. I don't really think that a vehicle entering the water would cause airbag deployment unless it's at like a super high rate of speed.
If a check engine light came on because water intrusion into the air intake system, getting into the fuel injection system, and so forth, that kind of data be captured on this as well?
If the car records incidents, and what I mean by an incident is there are certain vehicles that when you open the door, it will record it. When you close the door, it will record it. When you start the car, it will record it. If check the engine light pops up on that, it might record it as an incident, but it wouldn't really give you why it recorded that time.
Right.
So it's not say, hey, listen, somebody got too much water in your engine. Let me put the the engine light on. It's going to say, hey, listen, there was an incident. Let me just record that.
Right. It stalled. It doesn't tell you why it stalled.
Right.
Right.
I want to put Tom on the spot here, and I promised him I wouldn't, but I got to put him on the spot a little bit. Let's say you are looking at, what we saw here, okay? Potential for a car going into the water. What, after 2 weeks in the water, what can you tell our audience, which is there, it's now swollen to 2,200 and rising live in the chat. What could be some of the potentials of data that they could get on this vehicle before it was in that water? Like, in other words, before wherever it entered into this body of water, could you give them a basic overview of potential what they could get from the electronics?
If it didn't get wet, you're asking me, right?
If it didn't get wet, and then if it got wet, we could break it down to percentage, 50-50 if it got wet. But let's just say it what would be recorded before it hit that water, and then now hitting the water, what's the chances of recovering? What data would have been there?
Once again, it all depends on the system that was actually in that vehicle. So I can't be specific for that exact vehicle, but if the vehicle was able to have GPS and this infotainment system that could be downloaded, you're going to get possible phone calls. You might get some contact list on there, depending on, like, once again, the system and the phone that you're using. You probably going to get a GPS coordinate, maybe. Once again, that is kind of rare and not on every single vehicle. So the things I talked about before are always a possibility from that vehicle if it was in perfect condition. After the fact, going down into the water, whatever reason it landed up in there, I believe the event recorder is probably intact, meaning you can probably extract information from there. I think the infotainment system.
And what's on the event recorder, Tom?
If the vehicle was on, you would have the speed. You would have any kind of deceleration, meaning braking, any kind of acceleration, meaning an increase in speed. If the seatbelt was in use, and if there was any kind of airbag deployment.
Yeah. And when did they start putting black boxes, so to speak, in vehicles? Like, when did that all start happening? Like, what years did they start with that? I'm
going to say, and like I said, I was pre-airbag when I was a cop in uniform in the 80s. This black box stuff came out in the early 90s. I'm going to say, 1994. But like I said before, as of now, 96% of every vehicle out there has this data recorder. And most likely the ones that don't have the data recorder have some kind of other electronics in it that are recording the same information that is recorded by the data recorder.
Hey, Tom.
So the picture, yes.
Okay. Are you comfortable with, or can you speak on any mechanical aspects of this vehicle?
In what sense?
If it's an all-wheel drive vehicle, okay. Did you see the way the vehicle was being pulled out of the lake by the cable from the tow truck?
Right.
And you see the way the wheels were rolling.
Yeah, I didn't know if they disconnected it or they put it in neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, like I said, I'm not at that crime scene. I don't know what they did prior to that underneath the water and above water. I would want to keep that as close as possible as it was underneath the water to make any kind of determination. I wouldn't.
Yeah, well, you and me both, pal. Okay, yeah. But you know, we're showing images of a 2012, 2013 Honda CRV. And
yeah, the picture. Go ahead.
Seems to have a mechanical gear shift.
Yeah, and once again, it's was it in drive or was it in neutral? Obviously, or was it in reverse? You know what I mean? It's
we saw a deputy reach in too and try to maybe maneuver or touch the wheel. I don't know.
Steering wheel.
Yeah, I don't know if he or she reached in and put that in neutral as well. You'd wanted me to stop it somewhere on this.
Yeah, you have the view of the front of the vehicle, like right here. You can stop it, but if you this looks like you're sitting in the driver's seat of the vehicle, and you look off to the right, you see the screen there, the navigation screen, the radio screen. When we do a download on that, we actually pull that out, and then we attach.
What are you pulling out?
If can move the steering wheel over to the left a little bit, move the view. Well, yeah, perfect. You see above the shifter that's in the center there. You go up the controls for the temperature, and then you have that screen.
Yeah, right here where it says
with the map on it. The screen with the map on it.
Yeah, with the map on it. Yeah. That's the infotainment system, because on that also is your radio. And all that stuff, like I said, works together in storing this information I spoke about before. So when we do a download on a device like that, we actually remove that from the car. So we're taking the vents out to get to screws and nuts behind that to remove it, and then attach this software and a external power to extract this information. So we actually remove that whole thing, because that's what stores it. The black box itself, that event data recorder, that could be any place in the vehicle. Some have it in the trunk area, some have it in the dashboard, depending on the vehicle.
Hey, Tom, any of this information go up to the cloud and then to the auto manufacturer or the dealer?
They will never tell you that, but
I love how he laughs at this, because that sounds like to me, yes, it does go. Yeah.
Well, because I get messages on my entertainment system from the dealer saying, "Hey, it's time to come in for your 46,000 mile, service on your car."
And the reason why I'm laughing is, like, you have like devices like OnStar for General Motors products. Everybody has like a certain name for their kind of communication back and forth from your vehicle to the manufacturer. The reason why I'm laughing is they probably won't come out and say, "No, we're not tracking you," but most likely that those types of vehicles that have that system, they're tracking you every day.
That's right. They're tracking me, because I was under the miles needed for the warranty was 3 years or 36,000 miles. So I'm under it, right? And then also my information system says, "Hey, your 3-year anniversary for your vehicle is about to expire. Why don't you come in and talk to us about extended warranty?"
Right.
So the only way they would know my 3 years are coming up is if they have the information and they're tracking it.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
That's why I'm laughing. Like if you confronted a manufacturer, oh listen, we're not following anybody, we're not doing this stuff.
Right.
But
Yeah.
obviously they are kind of
Bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit. Uncle Sam and everybody's watching.
Yeah.
Listen, I just want some of the folks to know thank you for being here in the live chat. At the end of this, in another 10 or 15 minutes or so, we're going to do a Q&A. And I have 2 pieces of paper, and it's my chicken scratch from user-generated questions. Tommy, I asked everyone to go on our website, which is DutyRon.com, and to send in questions. And this is going to be a rapid-fire Q&A. So for those of you who are here, there's over 2,400 people watching. Hang out because we're going to do Q&A, some of the questions from the website, and we're going to fire them off to Tom and Ed. You know, these are 2 first-grade detectives. I'm in kindergarten, so they're in first grade. I'm in kindergarten. These guys know their stuff, and we want you guys to know that this is a conversation that we're having, and we're trying to get off as many professional questions that we have from an investigator standpoint, but we want your input as well. And Tom has generously agreed to answer these questions for us. So we didn't get to the part of water damage. Water damage is difficult, as we heard from the computer crimes and the computer forensics guys. It's a fine art, and it's a science, and it's a roll of the dice, they kind of said. So from your point of view, I mean, I know you guys do a lot of different things and you work alongside a lot of different units. What's the chances, the odds of them getting info? And this is not even a criminal case as of yet. They have not deemed this a criminal investigation, a criminal case. They're investigating it. But what would you professionally say? Is it a 50-50 of them rolling the dice to get this info, or is it pretty much a slam dunk?
I think it's a little less than 50-50. You would have to consider certain factors. And like, was the car on? You know, was this vehicle actually running? Was there electricity running through the wires? That might cause additional damage. Now you have something that's just getting wet. Now you have something that has electricity going through it getting wet. So there might be some kind of meltdown or fuse being set off due to the fact that you have electricity and it's getting wet. So that is an important factor. So when it comes from extracting information from the infotainment system, I'm going to say, and once again, there's really good guys out there that know what they're doing with this type of technology, like super experts on this. I'm going to say about 40%. You probably get some information out of it.
Well, I appreciate you being honest. And you know what? Listen, we're not here to blow smoke up anyone's rear. We want to give it a good, professional, constructive guess at this thing. And you've been doing this for almost 40 years, and I value your professional opinion. Now, not to stir up more controversy, but earlier in this video from the dive team, they interviewed a AAA response. Somebody called either from their roadside assistance, from their insurance policy, or from Honda's roadside assistance, or something from state of California. They supposedly have this statewide free roadside assistance. I didn't verify it. Wasn't able to get it, but they had a young kid. He was a guy who came for assistance, and it was alleged that this girl who was found in that vehicle the next morning called because she had a dead battery or couldn't start her car. Apparently, he instructed her the car was in neutral. You can't start the car when it's in neutral. She asked him questions about seat belts, and she also he said that he jumped her, gave her a jump. Maybe the battery was dead. Now, let me ask you, Tom, because you're in auto crime, right? And you know about these tow truck guys and capabilities and roadside assistance and so forth. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and I've stated this, and I believe that I'm correct. You need to give your VIN number. when you call into these roadside assistance, they need data. They don't just come out because, hey, I'm stuck in my car and I can't get right. Do you know anything about that and how that works?
There has to be some kind of information exchange on this. No one does this for free. Like you said, it's not somebody who's, at home gets a phone call. Hey, I need help. Yeah, I'll be right out. And I'm not getting paid for this. So if you're a member of some kind of automotive association, whether it's through the manufacturer or a private one, you're going to give a membership number. They're probably going to ask you what type of vehicle you have at minimum. And then when they show up, they're going to probably get additional information so they can do some kind of report to show, hey, listen, I went out there. This is the type of vehicle, a plate number. I spoke to Tom and his battery was dead. I gave him a jump. So there is, has to be some kind of record where you're recording that some information is recorded just for the sheer fact of payment. Hey, listen, you see various manufacturers that send people out without even a phone call based on like OnStar, based on this airbag deployment.
Mm-hmm.
But, if she called, or someone called for assistance for her, there should be some kind of record on that.
Yeah. And I would think, Ed, you're laughing. I love it when you laugh because you're looking at the comments. A phone call, all of these calls are we get that conversation. All calls are recorded and monitored for quality assurance. Right. So I would imagine there's an audio of who called, whether it was her or she was with some other boy, they said. And also they talked, the driver, the tow truck or the roadside assistant, he wasn't in a tow truck. He just came up in a vehicle. He said that he has dash cam for his protection. So there's that dash cam for, with audio and video. I know I have it in my car for insurance purposes, and it can record audio in the interior of the vehicle, but it records front and back. It's a great thing to have in case, God forbid, you're in an accident. So they'll be able to pull that information. Ed, what do you got going on, Ed? What's happening?
No, I'm looking at the chat and watching people go back and forth, and some of the comments are quite humorous.
Oh yeah. Listen, what's great about this community is that everybody can jar back and forth with each other in the comment section because they know if they're not being polite and they're being rude about it, they're just going to get taken out. But everybody here is really good, so that's awesome. That Ed, I'm always looking for something, some questions to ask our guests and for us to answer. But some of the stuff tonight, it seems like there's a bunch of comedians out here tonight. All right, well, it's all good. So the more the merrier. Let me get to some of these questions if you don't mind, Tom. And is there anything that we missed that you might want to talk about when it comes to 2013 CRV data or anything that you might want to talk about, Tom?
No, nothing that I haven't gone over already.
Okay. All right. So one of our friends from Scotland, her name is Isabel. She sends in a question. I think we covered it already, but I'm going to go over. And I have 6 of them here and then another 6 on the other side. So it's 12 questions. Black box. Does it tell when the car went in or the water or when it stopped, the date and time? Thank you and please.
Well, it would only do that if it if there was some kind of incident, meaning that airbag deployment. So it's recorded every time you stop, when you put it in, turn off the car. So to answer that question, no.
Okay. This is a good one coming from the chat, and I don't know who this is, but thank you, HR, and I love the little picture of your dog. Would the EDR record which gear the car was in?
They might be able to make a determination on that based on RPMs. I've never seen, and I don't do too many, once again, of these event data recording. Years ago, it was, I would do it with the Highway Accident Investigation Squad. If there was what we believed was some kind of of you would have people buying salvage vehicles, and they would get into these terrible accidents, and a highway would call me and say, hey, listen, this guy, we have witnesses telling me the guy is going 60 miles an hour, but I did a crush test on the vehicle and I have him going 120 miles an hour. Can you explain to me why, there's so much damage to it? And it was a salvage vehicle that was been repaired. So the damage, was a crumpled bag already.
Right.
So, that was popular back in the 90s. More now, when we look at the criminal side of it, we're getting away from the event data recorder. That's basically what highway does. We're just looking at the infotainment system.
Now, let me ask you this, Tom. Hurricane Katrina.
Yes.
A lot of those vehicles down in Louisiana got flooded.
Yeah.
But yet they were salvaged and they were sold to unsuspecting customers in other parts of the country. How did they manage to get those vehicles working with all the electronics that were underwater?
Well, you got to realize something. Also, we had our own kind of Katrina up here with
Sandy.
Yeah. So I was there for Sandy and dealing with these motor vehicles, and a lot of them did get crushed, totaled out. A lot of them did get bought at auction, and what they do is they dry them out. I've seen them put them in tents with dehumidifiers, doors opened up, with fans and stuff like that. They'll dry them out the best you can, but there always is, like, I actually had a vehicle donated to us from an insurance company for training purposes. That was a flood car, and the thing ran. We had replace a lot of the electronics on it, and the joke is, I only went up to the bottom of the door. I didn't go up any higher. But you turn on the air vents and you're getting a shower.
Wow.
But the car ran, but but it wasn't 100%. It would stop sometimes. It would slow down for no reason. Sometimes all the dashboard lights would come on and then come off. So there's always some kind of electronic damage, depending on the height of the water. Would depend on, and also the type of vehicle. I know people that had vehicles that were with less electronics, like older vehicles, like 1970 type vehicles that had carburetors, and they basically just took out the spark plugs, pushed the water out, replaced the parts in the distributor, and the car ran perfectly afterwards. Then you have the rust factor, depending on if it was salt water or regular water. But it's that's why people buy Carfax information, and they go to various websites to see if the vehicle's been a salvage vehicle. But there's a lot of salvage vehicles out there. You can buy them on eBay. You know what I mean? Type in salvage vehicle, they're there.
All right. So Debbie S. Sends in a question. Will any of the diagnostics be able to determine if the lights were on or off on this vehicle before it, stopped or met its match in the water? Anything that would indicate that? Not
electronically, but you would see it in the switch. If hopefully, once again, things weren't moved around too much, tell by the what position the light switch is in, whether it's on the dashboard or on the column.
What about window positioning and seats? I know some of the cars have electronic seats. There's a memory thing. If so equipped, would it be able to tell if the back window is down? In those Hondas, they can only go down halfway, and in a lot of other vehicles as well for safety reasons. Would anything be able to tell seat positioning or the windows down, Tom?
No, not within the system itself. Other than physically viewing which window was up and down, there's nothing else there that can provide that.
Well, like Ed Wallace says, he's a crime scene investigator, been to thousands and thousands of crime scenes. He said, photograph, sketch, video. This is all the things that when that car was upside down at the bottom of that lake bed, we hope and pray that they did that and have good documentation on, there's arguments whether the front of the vehicle was facing out into the lake. We heard it from Doug. I think Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, he said it was facing out. Then Nick said it might have been facing back. We know cars go in, the engine's the heaviest, it goes down. It could, because the wheels, it could do a roll, it could go forward and completely turn over. There's this whole argument in the true crime field with all the internet detectives saying, well, did it go in backwards? Did it go in frontwards? I mean, putting a car or driving a car backwards into a lake is not an easy thing to do. If there was something criminal behind it, somebody could try to do that. But I think that, again, there's all these questions about that. I want to just try to get to all of these. So sudden turns, will the computer show if the car was turned suddenly to the left or right? If this car was perhaps flipped over and went into the lake, and there would be any data? This is coming from a user, Carolyn K. Thank you, Carolyn, for the question.
No, that wouldn't be recorded.
Okay. Accident investigation. They might be able to look at there was no tracks. Ed, we tried to look hard for that. There was the track of the car being dragged out, but people were on the scene shortly thereafter, and nobody really saw anything because it was 2 weeks possibly in the past. So, Stephanie says, can we tell if the windows were broken out on a car before or after it went in the water? I don't think so. I would say no to that, right?
Well, you can do there's certain stress marks on glass once it's broken, and you can determine if the entry was external or internal.
Yeah, it's called directionality of force. Yeah,
right.
You could see it on the what's the word I'm looking for? The edges of the pieces of the broken glass. And but this is most of the cars have safety glass in it, in those windows, so it becomes a bit more difficult, and you got to put the pieces of the puzzle back together, so to speak, and that would require you to collect a lot of the glass, which I don't think was the case here. But you're right, you're 100% right. You can show the directionality of the force, whether it was internal or external. What about a car alarm? No, I guess the car alarm doesn't kind of have that kind of memory or data saving, when someone busts open a window and sets off the alarm.
No.
I'm looking for any more questions that might have came in on DutyRon.com. I don't see anything right now, but that doesn't mean that they aren't there. So I'm going to open up another window. Ed, you got anything for him? We got another 5 or 10 minutes.
I didn't see anything on there. No, there's a question here. Are these data collection devices easy to remove from the vehicle?
Some are very easy. Some are very difficult. Mm-hmm. It all depends on the trim. Sometimes there's a lot of trim around it, and usually what we do when we do a job like this is we will extract the information, and then put the system back in the car.
Okay. The infotainment system is obviously inside the car. Is there any other of the data collection that's in the engine compartment?
No.
So everything is internal?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a lot of yeses and nos, and there's a lot of different, what ifs in a case like this. When you have water, that throws a big monkey wrench into this thing. I'm looking at I refreshed our website, and oh man, I'm gonna rapid fire these. This comes in from Brooke. She says, at what point would the black box stop recording data? Does this black box transmit data to the phone of the owner or the laptop? Is it possible that the black box could be tampered with? Thank you so much, and keep up the excellent work. Thank you, Brooke.
Are we talking about the event data system itself? Once again, I think I said it records if there is an event, meaning airbag deployment, a collision where the sensors go off. You're going to have 5 seconds before it and 5 seconds after it. So you can extract information, how fast you were going 5 seconds before this incident, and then how fast you were going 5 seconds afterwards. That is in the event data recorder. The infotainment system, that's totally different. It won't record. It would record an incident. It won't have the same information as electronic data recorder.
Gotcha. Here's another good one. Will the black box or the data box show if the car was rolled into the lake instead of driven?
No, they won't show that. It would, if it was, say it was on top of the hill and then someone, moved it from park into neutral, it might show it as an event.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you for that. Barbara K sends in a question, and this one's for Ed. Ooh. Should I ask this of you, Ed?
I don't see it. Where is it?
I'm looking at the website email. I don't want to disclose that on a screen here.
Okay.
Hackers and so forth. We don't want them attacking us. It comes in from Granny. Barbara, her screen name is Granny Gamer. She says, why was she found in the back of the car, all the way in the back? Could it be that she was sleeping back there, or could it have been that someone put her back there? This question is for Ed Wallace.
Well, we get a lot of this, and it's just mere speculation, on how she could have been there. I mean, there are any number of possibilities at this point. Again, and I don't want to, venture a guess. I gave in the past, the different possibilities of how this occurred. But let's wait for the autopsy results on whether she drowned or whether she was dead before she entered the water. And then you can get a clearer picture of potentially how she got in the back of the vehicle.
Yeah. Thank you, Ed. You're always clear and concise and right to the point. Some of these are, thank God, some of these are redundant, so we don't have to do it. How old would the car have to be for the electronic syncing to not happen? How old would the car have to be? Okay, so he said pre-95-ish, you said, Tom, they started that?
No, if you're talking about the infotainment system, usually this technology came about a little earlier, like BMWs started getting this technology, etc.
Okay.
But it all depends. Like, you can have a brand new 2022 vehicle and it won't have this infotainment system information because of the it is a cheap system. So it all depends on the system also. And you might have a high-end car that has a high-end system that you're able to get this information from that's older.
Right.
So once again, year, make, and vehicle come into play with this.
And that was from Sherilyn Schofner. Thank you for sending that into the website. I think we got it all. Some of these questions in the chat, you guys asked some really great questions. We don't have the answers to all of them. We would love to have answers for you, but we're not the kind that are just going to give you an answer just to satisfy you. If we don't have the answer, or if it's not something that you want to hear, we're just going to give it to you straightforward. And that's what the Crime Time with DutyRon's about. We want to get as many professionals as we can to come on here from the police trade, and have them come on and talk strongly about it. Ed, there's this argument that continues to go on. I didn't see it in the chat, but I know that it gets asked over and over to us. She's 16 years old. If her family says, I don't want the tox reports exposed to the public, and it's a non-criminal situation, do they have the authority and right to suppress that? And if it is a criminal, I can probably answer that myself. I feel that they won't have control of that because it's law enforcement's duty to be clear and transparent with the public if she was in fact, murdered.
You know, we'd have to look at California state law on that. I wouldn't know offhand if a parent has the right under California state law to object to the release of a minor's autopsy results.
Right.
Mhm.
So Dan Davis is being pretty redundant about this. I've seen this in the chat and many different versions of this. Hey, Ron, let's talk about the wheels freewheeling while being towed out of the lake.
We already did just a little while ago. I asked Tom if he had any thoughts on that, and he suggested, you know, it depends on whether the linkage was taken out or the car was shifted into neutral. Yeah. And, you know, I said the same thing. You know, this car, from what I researched, this car comes in either all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. Okay, so I don't know this specific car if it is front-wheel or all-wheel. And then, you know, you have, and it looked like, you know, from the gear shift that Ron showed you from the interior of the car, it was a mechanical gear shift as opposed to an electrical gear shift. So it would appear that you'd be able to shift it into neutral, and then that would allow for free rolling of the wheels.
Right. Yeah, and I'm going to show it again up on the screen so everybody can see what you're talking about, Ed. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Oh, that's a good view right there, side view. Let's take a peek at this. So this shows the shifter here. Mm-hmm. I think this view is pretty good right here. So this is a 2013, and the shifter doesn't vary from the model. In other words, if this was the EX and you know, top of the line, it's going to be the same in the basic model. You know, we're looking at the you know, navigation system and all the stuff and the digital temperatures. You know, in the lower model, it's probably just a dial that you would turn hot and cold, so forth. But
see, when I look at this gear shift, I just question what the AAA guy said. Oh, you can't start this car in neutral, because if this is a mechanical gear shift, you would tend to be able to start the car in neutral. It was only the only things that I've ever experienced, and it was mostly in rental cars that had electronic shifting, that wasn't able to start the car in neutral.
Yeah.
Tom, do you have any experience in that?
I believe on most cars there's a neutral safety switch that prevents it from being started in neutral. Once again, it's for security reasons, meaning you don't want to think you're in park and you have your foot on the brake to start the vehicle, then you take the foot off the brake and the car starts rolling because you actually were in neutral and you started it. So I believe there is a switch that causes a disconnect if your vehicle's off. And you got to realize something also. If your vehicle's off, most cars, especially most modern cars, you're not going to be able to shift the car anyway.
Yeah.
So you have to turn the car on to actually shift it. So to actually, hey, listen, I'm going to turn the car on. I'm going to put it in neutral, then I'm going to turn it off. I know there's some cars you can't take the keys out of the vehicle because it won't. You only can take the keys out when you put it in park. Yeah. So depending on, once again, year, make, and model, it would depend on what kind of safety systems it has for the transmission.
Right, because like in my 2019 Sequoia, so the car can stall. It doesn't, but the car, it's a Toyota. It doesn't stall, but the car can stall in drive or reverse. And then I can put the car in neutral and start it from that position. Now, mind you, I have a key start as opposed to a fob and an electronic push button start.
Right.
Okay? All right. And, you know, I know those things make different changes to the vehicle and what positions the shifter can be. And like my wife's car has a dial, you know, electronic dial that you dial drive or reverse or whatever the case may be. So as you said, it's so different in all these vehicles, but this is a 2013. So this is an older car than what I'm currently driving now. But it would, like I said, it looks like a mechanical shifter.
Right. My 2016 is a push button start. It's not a keyed ignition like this, and I could start it in neutral. It's a 2016, so I know that for a fact because I did it recently.
Yeah, and then when the car was being pulled out of the lake, it appeared that the female deputy sheriff was reaching into the vehicle and turning the steering wheel.
God. Oy vey, as they say.
Mhm.
Right. So anyways, we covered a lot of good information here tonight. And, you know, the last thing that we're going to wind up talking about on this will be with the Honda certified mechanic. And it's just going to be a short little pre-recorded video. Ed and I will get together with him maybe over the weekend or next week. And we'll ask him some of these questions, some of the mechanical questions. And I think that will put most of this to rest. My neighbor across the street has a 2014 Honda CRV. I'm going to go over there tomorrow when I get home from work, and I'm going to put that car in neutral, and I'm going to try to start it. I think 2014 and a 2013 is not going to vary in some of the, you know, it's not like it got a complete makeover in 2014. So I'm gonna try that, and we'll see what happens, and I'll put it on my community post. Ed, you see anything else from the chat? Because we're at the hour and 10-minute mark, and I want to wrap it up.
No, I'm good.
All right, so you guys have done a lot of really great stuff, a lot of great questions. I appreciate you. Hunter's Moon, thank you for being here. Brittany, appreciate you coming. Angie, and Dawn Marie, all of our live moderators here in the chat. I want to say thank you to Tom for taking out his day. I know he spent quite a bit of his day doing his business and his duty with the police department. So I appreciate you taking out the time. We ran into a little snafu in the beginning, you know.
Yeah, my apologies on that.
Here's the joke that me and Ed had that you didn't hear. We were like, "This is the tech guy. How the f is he having a problem with his?" I was like, "Oh man."
Well,
oh hell no!
That you realize something. I'm more of the identifier guy. My specialty is making the determination of the vehicle used in the crime, because I did the Levy Klutsky case here in New York. I did the Max Stark case here in New York. And these I did the Times Square bomber also. The Times Square bomber case, believe it or not, was a VIN case.
Yeah.
I'm more of the even though I deal with the technology part of it, but I'm also like the physical part of it, the vehicle identification number, etc.
Right. I remember the Times Square. That was a Craigslist purchase, right?
Yeah, it's believe it or not, he was trained in removing all the VIN numbers.
VIN numbers, yeah.
Yeah, he had all the VIN numbers removed, but he missed two.
Yeah, I missed. I got a quick question. It's kind of off the topic here. When did you come on the job?
February 3rd, 1984.
Oh, okay. So you and I came on the same time.
Oh, how great is that? Were you in a January or the February class?
What's that?
You were in a February class?
No, July.
Okay, yeah. The company was 8444.
You know what? I can't even remember what my company was.
9113. I'm a rookie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to just say to everybody in the chat, please consider subscribing to Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, where we are here to bring you guys all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective. We are on all things social media, all one word, DutyRon, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. We even upload true crime videos, little snippets from this show will be on TikTok. Tom, you're now a TikTok star. You don't even know it. Yep. But we do this because we want to get out true and factual information from the police perspective. So if you guys are not yet subscribed, Ed and I and Tom, we would appreciate if you hit the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, share it out onto your social media platform, get the word out there. This is, again, true and factual information from some of the best experts out there. And we can't thank you enough for coming on and hanging out with us. Tomorrow night, I'm going to have the commanding officer of the computer crime squad at One Police Plaza. He's an unbelievable electronic wizard. He's not going to have a hard time logging into StreamYard like Tommy did. So we're going to have the retired. He retired with me about a decade ago. I interviewed with him. I went up into his office. I did a little bit of a stint there. He's a great guy. And when I reached out to him, I didn't even mention that I came there and interviewed him with him. And he was like, hey, didn't you come up here in 2008 and interview with me? I was like, oh, shit, man, I can't hide anything from this guy. But he's going to come on tomorrow night. We're going to talk about social media posts in the Kiely Rodni case and how they got deleted. Can they be retrieved by law enforcement? You're not going to want to miss that show, and it's going to be 9 o'clock. We're giving Ed a little bit of a later start. If he wants to start at 8, we'll do it at 8 because Dennis said that he would come live with us at 8 or 9. So it's going to be either 8 or 9 o'clock tomorrow night, and it's all things social media. We're going to talk about Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, all of that BS. And how come we don't see any of the posts from 400 or 300 kids? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And we're going to get the expert on tomorrow to talk about that. Do you know the guys up in computer crimes, Tommy?
Yeah, a couple of them. Good people. They're the true experts when it comes to this because, like any kind of skill, you need to practice it. These guys do it every single day.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. And they had that back room that monitored all the predators for the children. Yes. It was like that dark room, man. It was like scary back there. I remember going back there and they were like, you're gonna come back here. We got to blindfold you, and I got to turn you 2 times around and spin you around. And then I was like, wow, this is some secret squirrel shit right there, boy. Anyways, okay, guys, thank you so much for joining. And go ahead, Tommy. What did you want to say?
Hey, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the great information, Tom.
Yep.
When you're fully retired and you come over to the dark side and hang out with us retired guys, will you come back and join us again for another?
Yeah, I got a bunch of good car stories if you want to hear them. So, cases,
good stuff.
Good stuff.
Good.
Yep.
Hey Tom, when you finally meet Ron in person, don't show him the first grade secret handshake.
I won't. Okay. Yeah.
You motherfuckers. You motherfuckers. All right. Listen, guys, as I always like to end these, God bless the world. God bless the United States of America. And God bless each and every one of us here in the chat. But especially all the victims of crime and their families. They need us now more than ever. Let's send them strength, prayers, and positive vibes. Ed, I know you got something to say because you always do this at the end.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, folks, remember, stay safe, stay prepared, and watch your 6.
Good night from DutyRon, Crime Time with DutyRon, Ed, Wallace, and Tom. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you guys soon. Peace.